Hello and welcome to Paydirt TV. I'm Dominic Piper. Today I'm joined by Dr. Andrew Tunks, Managing Director of Meteoric Resources. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure, Dom. It's great to see you, mate.
It's been a big week for the company with results from an IP survey into the porphyry potential on your Juarina project in Brazil. Can you tell us about what you found?
This is the key. We have recognised now that there is clearly a gold system, which we knew about, but there's also a copper gold system. It's earlier than the gold system, but they're clearly related. And we believe that this field has tier one potential. We believe that there's something big at depth feeding this. And it looks like us, all the elements and the minerals that we see are characteristic of a porphyry copper gold system. We're very excited about that potential. And then our plan would be to drill it straight away. It is at depth, we believe. We're not sure how deep. We've got a rig there over the wet season that we've agreed with the drilling company to leave there. So if we can show that it's there, the drill rig's ready to go. The drillers have told us that they're happy to work through the wet. So all hands to the deck, really. It's a very, potentially a game changer for the company.
That's an envious position to be in, to have two projects on opposite ends of the globe that you can push along into 2021. The company picked up the Palm Springs project in the Kimberley region of Western Australia earlier this year. Now, the Kimberley is not exactly an exploration hotspot in WA, but looking at the releases you've put out so far, there's a lot of historical gold occurrences there. I mean, what's the plan for the project?
Well, very simply, we believe this was a mine, and based on the work that we did during our DD and the work and the results that we're producing over the last few weeks, we believe it's going to be a mine again. And given that the bulk of where the mine sits is on granted pre-native title mining leases, we think that can happen sooner rather than later.
You say you've got historical resources there. Is that the plan then? Is it to extend that historical mining and known mineralisation, or is there new targets as well?
A little bit of both. So because this is so old, none of the old drilling actually falls under the current JORC code. And so our first goal was initially we were going to repeat some of that, but we had issues. The old pit is full of water and we couldn't find the right spot to drill the old resources from. So once we realised that, we thought, well, let's see how big we can make this system. And it's effectively gold mineralisation in the hinge of a fold, an anticline, not like Bendigo, but sort of like Bendigo, like a saddle reef, and it plunges away to the south. So when we couldn't get into the pit, we very much decided to chase it south. There was only 4 holes south of the pit historically, and we've now extended that out over 360 metres. And, our drilling results have been spectacular. So we will go back to the pit. We will keep extending. And then we actually picked up 120 square kilometres of ground here, and there's targets all over the place. And we believe that some of them are very interesting. And one has been drilled, and it's a small resource of about 30,000 ounces. But the bulk of them haven't been tested, and we think that there's plenty of regional work to go as well.
You mentioned the results that you've produced so far, and looking at them this morning, big, wide, high-grade intercepts. In many ways, it's reminiscent of a few of the other exploration success stories we've seen in WA this year. What do you think you can produce out of this project?
Well, it is early days. I mean, the historic production was quite small at around 50,000 ounces. And unfortunately, under the current JORC code, I'm not allowed to talk about the historical resource. So, but we certainly see, even now, that there's the potential here, even in what we can see now, we believe for 300 to 500,000 ounces, and that's after 1 year of, one field season. So we won't be producing a resource based on this drilling. We do need to get into the pit early next year, pump that out and reconfirm some of the historic drilling. And that's because there's, the gold price fell so low in the 90s when this was a mine that they walked away and they left ore in the floor. So there's no pre-strip, there's no messing around. We will be able to go in and start mining So, but we do need to show from a JORC perspective that that's there, which will be some confirmatory twin drilling. So it will be known. At the same time, we'll continue to push the ore body south, and we'll work up some regional targets. It's a pretty exciting field.
Do you plan then, have you got it in your mind that you might be able to put out a JORC resource before the end of next year?
Oh, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. So our goal would be, based on next year's drilling campaign, and we will be up there the day the rain stops, figuratively. As soon as we feel that we can safely get in, get our contractors onto site, and that there's no issues with water and rain, etc., we will be out drilling. We anticipate, March, April, depending on the wet season. And so that's plenty of time to be producing a resource next year, absolutely.
It's exciting that you can be so far advanced in a project you only acquired a few months ago. Of course, as well as WA, you've got a longer standing flagship project in Brazil, the Jarina Gold Project over there. How's progress been there in 2020? Have you been hampered by the pandemic?
Well, a little bit, and early we hit the slow button, and while we were working out, what does that mean? And because I was in Brazil in February at the start, and I already had a sense that things might go downhill. Not much social distancing, etc. And unfortunately, that, I'm sad to say, proved correct. So we have been hampered, but not terribly so. And once we realised what was happening and what we had to do, we very successfully got back to site. We've worked all year without any interruption and certainly no instances of COVID, which is one of the joys of being remote. Once we're on site, we're incredibly safe because there's no one but us really, and a few illegal miners. So it's pretty safe. We've delivered some spectacular results from Brazil, some great plus 100 gram metre intercepts.
What can investors expect to see in the next couple of months regarding news flow from the company?
Absolutely. So there's still more results to come from Butchers Creek. We are still drilling the gold project at Jarina, the high-grade gold. So there's very high-grade gold and then there's lower-grade copper gold. So we're actually drilling on both of those at the moment. There's the results from the IP. Then early next year, at some stage, in the first quarter, I would anticipate, we'll update the Brazilian mineral resource estimate. So we've done a bunch of work over there for the last 2 years. We're actually doing that in-house at the moment, and then we'll give it out to an accredited Australian resource specialist, and we'll estimate a new resource for Brazil, which we think will be exciting. The IP, I'm pretty sure, will generate some very exciting targets. And the great thing about porphyry copper is you don't need, unlike gold, you don't need an assay to know when you've drilled into one. If you see the chalcopyrite, the bornite, the covellite, you know that you're in a copper system. And so we won't know about the gold till a bit later, but, we're very excited. And there's copper. We talk so much about the gold, and we do ourselves forget a little bit that there's copper everywhere. In Jarina, there's copper staining, there's blue-green rocks at surface all over the place. And some of our holes have hit, I think this year we drilled 15 metres at 10 grams with 1.5% copper. So it's there, it's in the system. We need to find the needle. But, porphyry needles are pretty big, so we're quietly confident.
Andrew, I'm glad to hear the confidence, particularly the ingenuity of a junior when the managing director's been in lockdown in Victoria for as long as you have. So best of luck for the next couple of months and then into the new year, and we'll come back and speak to you in the new year when we find out some of them results. Thanks for joining us.
Hopefully I'll be in Perth, John, when we can catch up and hopefully we'll get into the field together like the old days in South Africa, mate.
That sounds fantastic to me. I look forward to it. Thanks, Andrew, for your time today.